Hey everyone, welcome to Broadband Deployment News. The NTIA has released some FAQs about the IIJA, the Infrastructure Act. So there's 3 FAQs that they have published. I'll be right back and I'll show you where those are. Thanks for joining me. Rick Uzzi here with Decorum. I'm going to show you some FAQs that the NTIA has published. I said I'll show you where they are. I could not find a place where these were all on a page where you can download them. I'm assuming they're gonna make that available. But for right now, I just gotten a notification from them, and there were links to the individual FAQs. So at the end of this broadcast, I will link you to each one individually. I was just going to let you know about this. I think it's something good to have access to, and then also just show you real quickly what's in here. So this particular one is for the BEAD program, the Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Program. FAQs, and you can see here the table of contents. So this one's got a pretty good amount of information here, and you can see just from the scroll bar up at the top, it's a pretty long document, but it's not as long as the NOFO. So I think the purpose here was to try to simplify a little bit what's in the NOFO, and then also I believe they probably created some of these questions from questions that they've been asked prior, maybe even prior to the NOFO coming out, but maybe after the NOFO has come out. As to what they could be, again, frequently asked questions, right? So what they could be answering here. So you see the topics: program overview and eligibility, the letter of intent that needs to be submitted, local coordination, working with stakeholders in the area, mapping and analytics, how the FCC broadband maps are involved here. The 5-year action plan, which is required from every state as to their action plan for making sure that they're going to get their state completely covered with broadband. Digital equity kinds of provisions in this particular program, and there's another program that we'll show the FAQ for. Funding and allocation, initial proposal. So these are kind of the steps that you got to go through. The matching guidelines and cost sharing, competitive subgrantee grants, final proposal, and then grant award and reporting requirements. So they kind of go through this. Again, it's kind of what's in the NOFO, but I think in a little bit simpler language, and then in the forms of questions and answers. So you can see here questions like who can apply. There's some answers there. Then they go through the, what are the core milestones? And of course, the first thing is letter of intent, July 18th. It talks about kind of the next steps that are going to be happening here. Then you request your initial planning funds. Then you'll get a notice of available amounts once the broadband data maps are out. So that's a key milestone. Where's my mouse? There it is. That's a key gating item right there. Then you've got your initial proposal, challenge process. There'll be a challenge process, by the way, involved with the maps too. So if the maps come out sometime in the fall, like November, there's going to be a challenge process or a period of time where people can challenge those particular locations as well. But there'll be a challenge process related to the proposals after submission of that initial proposal, the initial funding availability, then they'll select subgrants. The state will do that, and then the final proposals to the NTIA will come in, and then monitoring, reporting, those kinds of things. So they go through this, and again, they cover a lot of the, here's definitions of unserved and underserved locations, and what are community anchor institutions that are covered. How can you use, or how must you prioritize your use of the BEAD funding? So lots of information here. I'm not going to go through this whole document. I'll just link to it. You can look at it. I think it's a good resource to have. And then we've got the middle mile program here. Less involved in this program, so there's fewer things that they need to cover. Still a fairly long document, but you've got, again, your eligibility and program details, uses of how you can use the funding, review and scoring processes in this one, and then application components and processes as well. So again, this goes through the questions and answers. What is it? What types of entities? What is it? The program, I guess. Why are we doing this? So the usual stuff. What is a cost sharing and matching requirement? So lots of information there. And then finally, we've got the Digital Equity Act, and under that there are 2 programs. So there's the State Capacity Grant Program, 3, I guess, planning grants, and then the competitive grants. So there's 2 ways to do that granting process. And then they got the FAQs in here again. So overview, deadlines, eligibility, so all the kind of stuff that you need to know. And again, probably easier than going through the NOFO, although in a lot of cases I noticed that as you look at these questions, it refers you back to the NOFO, so it's not going to give you all the details. It'll give you a summary and say, for more information, see the NOFO in these particular pages. So it can help from that as well. And just something to bear in mind is that these are 3 different programs under the IIJA, or the Bipartisan Infrastructure Bill. So we've got BEAD, and then we've got Middle Mile, and we've got the Digital Equity Act. But just remember that under BEAD, you can use dollars, and it's mentioned here in the FAQ at one point. You can take BEAD dollars and apply it to middle mile projects as long as those projects will favorably impact last mile service. So there's only $1 billion in the middle mile program, but you can take some of the money that you would be allocated through the BEAD program and you can apply that to middle mile, not just last mile projects, as long, again, as it's the point is to get broadband to those last mile locations. And then there's also in here a digital equity portion. So if you're going to be doing the digital equity grants, you need to be coordinating that along with your BEAD application. Make sure that whoever's working on these 2 things as far as digital equity are working together. So that's just something to keep in mind as well. So there you go. So I will post, as soon as I'm done here, I'll post the links to those 3 FAQs. I think that will be helpful for you as you go through this process and as you look at these NOFOs and then take the next steps towards that. This would be assuming you're a state and the money would be going to you, or even a potential sub-grantee, a service provider in the state, whether that be somebody that's providing internet right now or somebody that will be in the future getting these funds. That's something I think that will be helpful to you as well. So thanks for joining me. Click subscribe if you're not subscribed to our channel. Click the little bell and be notified when I am live or when we post a video, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.